Imagine candlelight flickering in an old study. The scent of ink and parchment lingers in the air. Outside, the quiet of the French countryside settles over the land. Tonight, we journey back in time across oceans and battlefields, through palaces and prisons, to follow the extraordinary life of Napoleon Bonaparte. This is not a tale of hurried battles, but a calm unfolding of one man's remarkable rise and fall. Napoleon was born on August 15, 1769, in Ajaccio, on the island of Corsica. The island had just passed from Genoese to French control, and his family, though of noble blood, lived modestly. His father, Carlo Bonaparte, was a lawyer and supporter of Corsican independence, while his mother, Letizia, was a woman of stern discipline. Napoleon grew up speaking Italian dialects before French, and though he would one day rule France, he was always marked by his Corsican roots. As a boy, he was serious, quiet, and thoughtful. He preferred books to games, and history fascinated him, especially the tales of great leaders: Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Hannibal. At just 9 years old, Napoleon left Corsica for mainland France, where he attended military school. Small for his age, with a thick accent and few friends, he poured himself into studies of mathematics, artillery, and strategy. He learned to command respect not through charm but through brilliance. By 16, Napoleon graduated as a second lieutenant of artillery. France, however, was on the edge of revolution. The monarchy teetered, unrest spread through Paris, and the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity were reshaping Europe. Napoleon's early career was turbulent. At first, opportunities were scarce. But the French Revolution's chaos created openings for ambitious men. Napoleon's loyalty to revolutionary ideals and his undeniable talents hit him apart. In 1793, at the Siege of Toulon, he showed his brilliance. With daring precision, he led artillery units to retake the port from royalist forces aided by the British. His success earned him recognition as a rising star of the French army. At just 24, he was promoted to brigadier general. France had discovered its prodigy. In 1796, Napoleon was given command of the French army of Italy. Few expected much. His troops were poorly supplied, weary, and demoralized. But Napoleon transformed them. He gave fiery speeches, promising glory and reward. His energy electrified his soldiers. In a whirlwind campaign, he defeated Austrian forces again and again. Battles at Montenotte, Lodi, and Rivoli turned him into a legend. Soldiers began to call him the Little Corporal, for he fought alongside them, sharing their hardships. Through strategy and speed, Napoleon reshaped the art of war. He struck where enemies were weakest, moved armies faster than thought possible, and inspired loyalty like no other. During this rise, Napoleon also sought love. In 1896, he married de Beauharnais, a widow with children and connections in Parisian society. He adored her, though their marriage would later strain under infidelity and ambition. Soon after, Napoleon embarked on his Egyptian campaign in 1798. His goal was to disrupt British trade routes and spread French influence. In the shadow of the pyramids, French and Ottoman forces clashed. Napoleon declared to his troops, "From the tops of these pyramids, 40 centuries look down upon you." Though the campaign brought scientific discovery, the Rosetta Stone among them ended in military failure. Yet Napoleon's legend grew. He was not just a general, but a figure out of history itself, evoking pharaohs and conquerors of old. By 1799, France was unstable once more. Political chaos threatened the revolution's gains. Napoleon returned, and in a swift coup d'etat, he seized power. At just 30 years old, he became first consul of France. Napoleon reshaped government and society. He centralized power, created the Bank of France, and most famously, the Napoleonic Code laws that still influence nations today. To the French, weary of instability, he brought order. To Europe, he brought war. In 1804, in the grand halls of Notre Dame Cathedral, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of the French. The gesture shocked the world rather than let the Pope place the crown upon him. He took it in his own hands. He was saying, "I owe my power to no one but myself." The Napoleonic wars that followed would engulf Europe. From Austerlitz to Jena, from Wagram to Borodino, Napoleon's armies thundered across the continent. Victories came swiftly, and he redrew the map of Europe. Brothers and allies sat on thrones he created. Paris became the heart of an empire. Roads, monuments, and institutions bore his mark. Yet behind the glory was endless struggle, millions of lives shaped by one man's ambition. In 1812, Napoleon made his most fateful decision: to invade Russia. He led an army of over 500,000 men, the Grandi, across the vast steppes. At first, he pushed forward, winning at Borodino and reaching Moscow itself. But the city was set ablaze and abandoned. Winter came, supplies ran short. Starvation and frostbite devoured his army. The retreat from Moscow became a nightmare. Only a fraction of his men survived. Napoleon's aura of invincibility was broken. Defeated in 1814, Napoleon was forced to abdicate and exiled to the island of Elba. Yet even in exile, he plotted. Less than a year later, he escaped and returned to France. The people rallied. Soldiers sent to capture him joined him instead. In Paris, he declared, "The eagle will fly from steeple to steeple, until it reaches the towers of Notre Dame." So began the 100 Days, a final, dramatic return to power. But Europe united against him once more. At the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, Napoleon met his end. Defeated by the Duke of Wellington and Prussian forces, he was captured. This time, his exile was final. The British sent him to St. Helena, a remote island in the South Atlantic. Far from Europe, far from power, Napoleon lived out his last years. He walked the island's cliffs, dictating memoirs, reflecting on his life. Some saw him as a tyrant, others as a genius. He himself believed history would vindicate him. On May 5, 1821, at the age of 51, Napoleon died. His final words, whispered in delirium, were said to be of France, the army, and as the centuries passed, Napoleon's legacy only grew. To some, he remains a symbol of ambition unchecked. To others, a reformer who reshaped Europe. His code of laws, his military genius, his vision of merit over birth all still echo today. And yet, as you drift into sleep, remember that behind the battles and the crowns was also a boy from Corsica who dreamed of greatness, who read by candlelight, and who believed, always, in destiny. Rest now, with the story of Napoleon carried gently into dreams.